1,302 polling stations in the length and breadth of the country. IG Director of Operations Samuel Yai wanted to show the internal observers the way they conduct elections in the country.
We'll be going for a short break. We'll be back momentarily.
The Technology Show. Science and technology has impacted all spheres of human endeavor over the past several millennia. Today, with the giant leaps that have been made in areas such as communication, power, medicine, and food technology, the world has virtually shrunken to look more and more like a village community. There is increased competition for the world's resources as populations have exploded exponentially. Science and its application, technology, are the tools that humanity has at its disposal to do just this. Technologies that generate power, such as thermal, solar, wind, tidal wave, and others will be explored. Wireless technologies have revolutionized the way we work, communicate, compute, socialize, and even have fun. This TV program
Back to the top of the news. The deadline issued by the Independent Electoral Commission for the cessation of political activities is fast approaching, and the aspirants are making last-ditch efforts to cover more ground. The incumbent president, Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya Jammeh, on Monday addressed crowds of supporters at Serekunda West Mini Stadium before proceeding to Serekunda East for a similar meeting. Abdul Jai is covering Professor Jammeh's thank you tour, and he now reports.
Entered the Kanifi municipality amidst fanfare, and under the tentacles of this growing fame, he came face to face with stalwarts of the party in Serekunda East and West. But it was in the East, precisely at the buffer zone, where the largest crowd gathered. In their midst were hundreds of defectors, mainly from the party of the independent candidate Hamadba, Ami Jallo, who led one of the groups, introduced herself as Hamas' right hand in Serekunda East, whilst Jainaba Sambu stood as much for him in Serekunda Central, and Martel Damba did his mobilization in Yamanar. They were unanimous in their expressions, most of which seemed to point to the qualities of the president as a humble, simple and sympathetic leader. One of them recalled the moments of his tour of flooded neighborhoods in the greater Banjul area during the rains as unprecedented, especially that the president was seen wading through the stagnant water to see for himself the level of the damage. But what they describe as most captivating is his fulfillment of whatever promise he has ever made to Gambians, and in fact went beyond those promises. Speaking earlier, the National Assembly member for Serekunda is Fabakary Tombong Jatta stressed that the noise of support being echoed throughout the country for the APRC should be accompanied by votes. Voting, he said, is not a privilege but a right sanctioned by the Constitution and respected by the leadership as an important element of democracy. At the heart of the mobilization in the KMC are Lord Mayor Yankuba Koli, Mberi Sow, Mamadou Pika Jallo, and Pa Salifu Jammeh. This is the support system that makes politics for the APRC very dynamic. But the president was not again ready to talk politics, but only to thank the electorate as he did in other parts of the country. He urged them to observe the guiding principles of the referee, which is the IEC, and to ensure that peace prevails during and after the elections. He warned in the strongest terms, perhaps for the very first time, that violence will not be tolerated and Gambians will go out and vote, not necessarily for him, but for their choice. It is after all about progression or retrogression. Yankuba Toure did also speak of the need for the youth folk to take ownership of the informal sector. This, he said, is the only effective tool of reducing the high dependency rate. The government of President Jammeh, he said, has put in place the right infrastructure, created the enabling environment for their development. He cited the agricultural sector as a potential area for entrepreneurship. The go back to the land call, according to the former minister and mobilizer, has indeed saved him the cost of sending monthly allowance to his family in rural Gambia. He also called on the voter population in this area not to use the lack of transportation as an excuse not to vote, explaining that it is feasible that only those who stay very far from their constituencies should be provided transportation. The liaison officer for the KMC, Fatim Baji, said the only payment so vital to the APRC is the vote of the entire population, and the turnout seen in the president's thank you tour, the minister believes, should reflect on the outcome of the final counting. There were also hundreds of defectors at a meeting held earlier at the Serekunda West Mini Stadium. Most of them came from the opposition UDP party. With the president entourage, I am Abdunjai reporting.
Well, after moving into the Upper River region of the country, the United Democratic Party's campaign caravan cruised into Jarasoma for a meeting before proceeding to the village of Kian Nema and Jali. We have more in this report by Mamadou Jallo. The president of the Nerika Rice Farmers Association has been touring parts of the country, holding meetings with fellow farmers who produce the high-yield rice variety. The meetings come against the backdrop of poor